Hey, Baba. Jay Baba, good morning, everyone. We're here to celebrate the life of Baba's doctor, Dr. Goher. And she was quite something, as we all know. So we're going to start with a little bio. I have a little video and then some shares. And I'm glad everybody's here. Let me turn it over to Karen Talbot. Jay Baba, Karen.
Jai Baba, everyone. It's a pleasure to continue doing these bios for Dr. Goher. Goher means jewel, and she, in fact, was Baba's jewel doctor. And I think the most important thing, hold on just a sec, Alan. The most important thing to know, to remember about her, is that she had the most loving hands. And I'm going to read something to begin with that she said about Baba. Baba's love poured out from his eyes. That was all that sustained them. Baba's eyes poured love. And here's something else of interest. In the beginning, she also said Baba asked her mother, "How many children do you have?" Her mother replied, "7, Baba." Baba said, "You only have 5. I have 2. Dr. Goher Irani was born on August 3rd, 1916, to Rustam Rusi Pap and Khorshed Banoo in Quetta, a northwest frontier town in North India, now Pakistan. In 1922, when she was 6, Meher Baba visited her home. She has a hazy recollection of that visit. In 1931, when she was 15, Meher Baba visited again. She said Baba showed so much love and much interest in the children. Baba told her to become a medical doctor. Her mother was very upset. At Meherabad, her mother told Baba they had no money. Baba called her and her parents. He asked Dr. Goher if she wanted to study. Dr. Goher said yes, but it would be very difficult without any money. Baba told her mother, "You have nothing to do with Goher. I will see she is being trained and will give her tuition fees." Goher was very touched, but she was still in her teens. Finally, her mother agreed to medical school for her. Baba had Chanji make plans for her to live in Bombay at the Dada Chanjis while she was in medical school. Dr. Goher was very shy. When she knocked on their door, since she had never met them, she couldn't believe the welcome she received. They treated her with so much love. The house was filled with love. The mother fed Dr. Goher before feeding her own children. Arnavas was the eldest. Dr. Goher was 2 years older than Arnavas. Dr. Goher felt theirs was a blind love with strong conviction. Baba used to visit their home with the mandali. He would always ask if she was obeying his orders. Baba said she could join him, so she went home and told her parents. Her father was pleased. Very difficult for her mother. She was concerned she would never see her again, since the women mandali were so secluded. She sent a message to Adi to give to Baba. Baba said to go to her mother. The mother wanted her not to go, but that gave her a shock. She wanted to be with Baba. So she sent another message to Adi saying she wanted to be with him. And Baba agreed happily. Baba told her to go to Kakabaria's home in Bombay and stay there with the women mandali. Then they traveled to Raipur. In Raipur, she became the watch person, so no one would come to the women mandali. She protected them. Usually Kitty or Rano had this position, and immediately in her position with the mandali, Dr. Goher became a go-between between the men and the women. At that time, Dr. Goher had just completed medical school and had no experience. She felt she couldn't be good for Baba. She also was unsure why he had ailments since he was God. Baba told her he took birth as a human and she should take his ailments seriously. She felt she needed more experience, so she left for a medical internship. But then it took a long time for Baba to call for her. To her, it felt like an eternity, and she felt that she had missed her opportunity. But in 1947, he asked her to come permanently to Meherazad. When she got there, while she was now a physician, she became a caregiver for the chickens and the ducks, and she took these tasks on very happily. They had Manila ducks, and they had the hens sit on the eggs of the ducks. And when the eggs hatched, Mara put them on a plate and would bring them to Baba to see. Katie would cook a mash for the chickens and ducks, but they ordered bran from the bazaar for feed. Baba had to approve the order. One day, Goher realized they needed more bran right away. She ran to the men's side, where Baba was talking with someone about the seventh plane. Goher burst in to say the fowl needed more bran. Baba said, "I'm talking on the seventh plane, and you are bringing me down to the gross plane." He later asked her to wait patiently. She said, Baba was so forgiving and so compassionate. In August of 1949, Baba began talking about going on the new life. He said he would only take 4 women, and he would choose who those women would be. She knew Mara and Mani would be 2. She was new, so she didn't think she had a chance. Perhaps Meru, Khorshed, or Naja. She was very depressed. She did not want to go back into the world. Baba came by with Mara at that time and asked her what she was thinking. She told him this. Baba told Mara to tell her she would be accompanying him on the new life. She said, this was the happiest moment of her life. In 1952, she accompanied Baba to his first visit to the Meher Center. She was at the accident site. She was in the second car so that she was able to provide care for those that were injured. She was the doctor who bore the brunt of his care and subsequent needs in subsequent years. In 1956, after that accident, she was there. While there was Dr. Duncan, Dr. Ginty, and others, it was Dr. Goher who would be woken in the night if needed. Her bed was right next to Baba's room. When Baba dropped the body, she was disillusioned with medicine. She gave away all her medicines to the Salvation Army Hospital in Ahmednagar. However, when they went to the Great Darshan in Pune, she had to resume her medical duties with Dr. Duncan to care for the Westerners. But when they returned to Meherazad, there was little to do. The women encouraged her to begin treating patients in what was Kakabaria's bedroom. They felt the villagers would come and learn about Meher Baba. Initially, she was assisted by Mani and Erich, who helped with dressings and injections. Pendu handled the case papers. Alaba supplied tea. Bao was involved in the administration of the dispensary. In 1970, Heather Nadell, Lindsay, Ralph Jackson, and others came. They helped Dr. Goher. She trained them. Up to 1977, she worked in the 10 by 10 room, and she called it Schweitzer's Clinic. Within 2 years, Dr. Goher became very busy. They expanded a go-down to store medicines behind the original bedroom. Villagers came from far distances, including Nasik. She said, you have to have, she was concerned that She said to the villagers from Nasik, you have medical services. This clinic is for those in 8 surrounding areas where there's no medical care. They said they heard this, but they knew they could be cured by her. And she said, no, it was Meher Baba who cured them. After several years and more practice growth, it became busier and busier. Dr. Goher was also concerned that villagers might have illnesses that could be passed on to the pilgrims. She spoke with Arnavas, who funded the building of a larger clinic a bit farther away from the veranda at Meherazad. This was opened in February 1978. At Meherabad, Baba always wanted a free clinic with free medical supplies being given. And that was the model that was used at Meherazad. Everything else free. Doctors were paid. So the clinic continues in a new site at this point, not exactly at Meherazad, but proximate to Meherazad, and people continue to come. And I just want to add that for many, many years and continuing now by Dr. Goher's wish, Meher Fund collects funds for the clinic at Meherazad. And at this time, while the trust cannot accept donations, Meher Fund can. And I'd like to, just as I end, put down on the chat the address for sending any donations to Meher Fund. And thank you for having me back. This has been several years and always a pleasure. No, Jai Meher Baba. Jai Baba.
Jay, Baba, Karen, that was wonderful. It just kind of takes me back to those days in the clinic.
That's right. You were a nurse and you helped there.
I did. I'll talk about that after the video, but yeah, it was a wonderful opportunity. So I've got this little video. It just puts us kind of visually in touch. If that's what happens for you, but it certainly happens for me. So I'm going to show this video of Dr. Goher, Jai Baba.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, has promised good to me. His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, we have already gone. 'Twas grace that brought us safe thus far, and grace will lead us.
That was so beautiful. I'd like to read something else about Dr. Goher and the song Amazing Grace.
Perfect.
That's okay. And this is from Shelley. Towards the end of Goher's life, she became taken with amazing grace. And Shelley says, Dana was with us at the time, and she asked her to print out the words for her. Sometimes in the evening, as we waited for Arti, Goher would sit in the big overstuffed chair by the main door and read the words of Amazing Grace to herself. And during her last break in Pune in May of 2004, she kept that copy folded underneath her pillow. While in Pune, she and I shared a big double bed, so I was very aware in the night when she would suddenly turn on her flashlight, pull out the copy of Amazing Grace from under her pillow and read it to herself, especially since the flashlight was often shining in my face. Towards the end of that visit in Pune, Ted came especially to sing to Goher and especially to sing Amazing Grace. She never really talked about her fascination with the song, just as she never really talked about herself at all. But it was because of her special relationship with this song that Ted also sang it at her cremation and her interment. I wonder, well, that was just about it. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. And I'm sorry, where did you read that from?
When I did this in 2021, because we've been doing these celebrations for a good number of years, I asked Shelley and I asked some others to send anything that they would like that I could share. And this is what Shelley sent. So this email is dated Sunday, August 1st, 2021. And at the time, she also said she was happy to share news about her book, which I believe is completed. I don't know. The first draft is done, and now I'm working on editing it. But that was 2021. So it's, yeah.
Well, it sounds like it's in the queue. We just have to be patient.
The videos were beautiful. Thank you.
You're
Jai
welcome. Jai Baba. Excuse me. Yeah, I don't remember who told me. It might have been you about the song Amazing Grace, and that's why I used Paul Robeson singing it.
Beautiful.
It was grateful to find, yeah. And then of course Judy Collins just fills the room with her voice. So that was kind of why that ended up in the video. I just want to say that when I went to India in 1985, I think it was Scott Himmelsbach or Charles Haynes, somebody told me that Goher needed certain medical things, and one of them were these little plastic bags, and she would put pills in them and then dispense them through in these little bags, but she didn't have many of them or needed them. So I worked at a place where they just threw them away. I mean, the pharmacy would send up the medicine, you'd give the medicine, and then the little plastic bag would go in the trash or in a container or something that they weren't reused. So I started collecting them, and I wrote a letter to Dr. Goher before we went in July of 85 that I had started to collect these things, and I would bring them, and I don't know, I probably asked her if there was anything else that she needed that I might be able to, get my hands on to take with me. So I didn't know. I was so, I'm trying to think, 85, I don't know what was wrong with me, but I sent the letter, I put a stamp on it and put it in the mailbox and sent the letter off to India. Well, needless to say, it took a couple of months to arrive. I mean, I was back home from my trip by the time she got the letter. But Dr. Goher, in her wonderful way, sent me a response, even though I had already just been there. And she had somebody bring it back, which was so much more sensible. I just didn't know that was the way to go, get somebody to take that over for you. So I had the good fortune of spending time with her because I'm a nurse and I got to go into the clinic. So that's what I did. I kind of hung out with her. There's a picture in the video of me hugging her, and Katie's on the other side. And I was just I was like, oh, what a happy sandwich that was between those two. And, but I just was drawn to Dr. Goher. I'm sure it has to do with medicine and my own karma and sanskaras around medicine, but I was drawn to her. And so I realized that I was really excited to work in the clinic. So I went in, and she had me give the DPT shots to the young ones, so the toddlers, and they would get this DPT shot for diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus, I guess. I can't remember. And what they had were little cubes, little sugar cubes, and you'd give the little toddler the sugar cube, which they loved, of course. Sugar, they were happy. And then you'd have to get to their little bottom to give a shot. And the mothers, of course, were just so beautiful and amazing. And not only one baby cried out of all those children, only one cried. And I don't know if I'm sure I startled the baby, but as soon as I gave the shot, the baby cried, and I made a face like, oh. And then the baby looked at me and said, oh, it was like, oh, it's okay. The baby stopped crying and looked at me like, I hope you're all right. I just couldn't believe all these children that came, and only one, gave in to that pain or that surprise. All the rest just like took it in, and their moms just hugged them up, and then the next one would come. And I remember Dr. Goher. I was telling my best friend this. I remember Dr. Goher at one point was standing in the doorway looking at me, and there was so much love and just recognition, I think, for my real self that I felt coming from her as she looked at me as I tried to be of service. And so it made me feel like I really could be of service. And so that, of course, impacts my practice as a nurse, to continue to bring that kind of concern and love and sensitivity to my job. So anyway, that's some memories for me of that amazing woman that we call Dr. Goher. So I just wonder if anybody else would like to speak. Goher, Jay Baba.
Okay. So I will start us off. Of course, Dr. Goher is my namesake, and what a story that is. With Baba's grace, I will tell you. So my father, for some of you, this may be a repeat. I know it is a repeat, but I will share anyway for those that haven't heard. So my father, Minu Karas, was a very old disciple of Baba's, going way back into the 1930s. He was a true God seeker, and after many challenges, hurdles, whatever, his search led him to Baba, and he, was always in Baba's inner circle. Baba said he was one of his 120 innermost disciples. So life went on for him for a number of years after meeting Baba as a bachelor. And finally, after about 20 years or so of coming into Baba's contact, he meets my mother, and in Karachi. And she's the daughter of Kekashru Patel, who was also a Baba follower, and hence that's how they met. But Mom was 20 years his junior. So a friendship developed first, and then with Baba's permission, as it progressed further, and both of them wanted to marry, it came to Baba's attention. And finally, Baba said to my father 3 times, because before that he had forbidden him to even touch women, look at women, no sex, nothing. So when this occurred and it was brought to his attention, he said to me 3 times, marry Franey, marry Franey, marry Franey. So they were married in February, on Valentine's Day in February of 1954, they got married. 9 months later, yours truly made my debut. And with my birth, of course, Dad, being who he was, sends off a telegram to Baba saying, we have a daughter, we'd like you to name her. Now, at this time, Baba was in a period of strict seclusion. So all the collected correspondence from around the world that would come to him was set aside. The only stipulation for this seclusion, Baba had said, was that if any one of his near or dear ones passes away, that information was to be brought to him immediately. So for the first 5 months, I had no name. My birth certificate said Baby Karas. My grandparents on my mother's side were up in arms. They were like, you people are crazy. You're not naming this child. What is wrong with you? But my father stuck to his guns, and he said, if anybody names my daughter, it's going to be Baba. We will just wait. So 5 months go by. Then finally, in April of 1955, Adi Dubash, who was a cousin of my father's, also a Baba lover, close Baba lover, they stayed in Karachi, and they were right behind their home was right behind us. Adi and Rhoda had 2 sons, Mirwan and Homi. Homi was the younger child, and at age 4, very tragically, one day, Homi, there was a big party in their home, and people, I guess, were not paying attention or whatever. Homi fell from a 2nd-story window and died of severe head trauma. When news of Homi's death came to Baba in, in India, he briefly came out of seclusion. And at that time, all the collected correspondence came to his attention. And among those, of course, was Dad's telegram. So he lined up all his women mandli in front, and he started with pointing to Mehra. He said, now there are too many Mehras I've named, too many people I've given your name to. So no Mehra. And he looked at money. He said, same here, too many times you said so. Third in line was Dr. Goher. So he looked at her and he said, well, what do you think? Should we send your name? And Dr. Goher said, Baba, it's your wish. So Baba says, done. And I have a letter in my possession today that was sent to my father by Iraj, who wrote, today, April 21st, Baba has named your daughter Goher, into parentheses, Jewel, exactly what Karen said. So that is one of my absolute treasured possessions. So many years go by, and then of course in 1962, I first met Baba in Guru Prasad. And I can still remember the absolute thrill and anticipation of finally seeing him, for meeting him for the first time, because I'd always grown up knowing who Baba was. Oh, I forgot, I jumped ahead. So before I was even born, my mother met him in 1954 at the Wadia Park Savas in Nagar. And I was pregnant, and she was pregnant with me at the time. So I would say that was my very first meeting with Baba. But then of course, in 62, I actually did see him physically for the first time. And it was a wonderful, I can never forget that whole experience. However, in the late, early 90s, we used to visit a lot with my children when I was married and had kids, and we used to go to India. I very much wanted to ask Dr. Goher to just describe that whole scene, because whatever I had heard was from my father. And just to relate from her end, what it was like, relate the whole scene, and that would sort of be a treasured memory for me. But I just never got the chance. I mean, there were always so many people around her when we would meet in Meherazad. And to this day, I regret that. But that's my story of how I was named Jai Baba. And to this day, I have to say, I think, I may be wrong, but I think there are many people that were named for Mehra. Many people Baba had given out Mani's name as well. But to this day, I don't think there's another Goher, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I have not heard. So very, very blessed. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Well, I can't help it now. You may not want to do this, but since you mentioned meeting Baba in 56, you said?
No, 1962 at the East-West gathering.
62, yeah.
62. I was just shy of 8 years old at the time. So, yeah.
Would you relate that story a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So, growing up in Karachi, my father's home was the Baba Center in Karachi. And we were a small group of, I'd say, about 25 to 30 of us. And we would gather every 25th of the month for a meeting at my home. And I used to look forward to those meetings. Even as a very small child, I remember we used to gather, we would say the Master's Prayer and the Repentance Prayer and the Aarti. We would sing Baba's Aarti. And then either Dad would go into a discussion of some sort, or he would share news from Nagar, from Baba's abode. And we would just meet and then have refreshments, and that was our meeting. And I would be blown away by some of the stories that my father would relate from his time of meeting Baba, knowing Baba, all of that. So I really, really used to enjoy this gathering. But then as we came closer to 1962, and I realized we were actually going to India, and I was actually going to see Baba. Oh my, I'm a very shy person, just like my namesake. I was always very, very shy. So nobody ever knew what was going on inside my head or my heart, whatever. But the excitement, I cannot begin to tell you the anticipation of, knowing that I will actually see him. So finally, here is the day, November 1st, 1962, and I find myself at the gates of Guru Prasad with my mother, I think, who was at my side. We'd gone in a group, but anyway, so thousands of people, I mean, like a sea of humanity. And so finally, we are walking towards the back of Guru Prasad, where they had set up the pandal for Baba's darshan. And somehow, I don't know how I knew this, but somehow I knew that the first thing I wanted to do was to turn around and see Baba. And I didn't know where he would be, but I kept walking. And at one point, something told me to turn around. And I turned around, and there on the stage behind, right behind me was Baba sitting there in all his, and I was just, I mean, to tell you that I was struck like lightning, it was, I cannot describe that moment. I just stood there and I stared at him, and I just looked and looked and looked to my heart's content. And there was Baba beaming in all his radiance. Anyway, so even though it was November, I remember it being very, very hot, very humid. The big pandal, all the Westerners were seated right in front of the stage, and we were right by them, right behind them, a group from Karachi. All of a sudden, the skies opened up and it poured like crazy. I mean, we were drenched. There was a deluge. Before you knew it, we were soaked through. Now, Baba became concerned about the Westerners, especially the Western women, and he didn't want anybody to catch a cold with them not being used to the Indian climate. So he had the Western women come inside Guru Prasad and be with the Easterners, and for them to help them change, to give them dry clothing. And so along with them, I was ushered in as well. Well, Mani comes to me at one point, and she brings one of her dresses, and she helps me to change. And of course, I being all of 3 feet tall, the dress was very long on me. So she ties it up with a ribbon, a blue ribbon, excuse me. And a month or so later, after we went back home to Karachi, she sent me that dress as a memento of that occasion. And I still, of course, have it with me today. It is one of my treasured possessions, among many others. So years later, in the early 90s, when I visited with my own family, I took that dress with me, and I actually wore it because now it actually fit me. And I went, and when I hugged Mani and I showed her the dress, she was like, oh my, what a moment that was. It was beautiful. So I have a picture of that somewhere too. And then of course, of course, in the afternoons, Baba would call different groups to be with him in the smaller side room of Guru Prasad for his darshan. And so our Karachi group had gone, and that was the first time I knelt down and took his darshan. I remember first we were standing in line before even entering the room, and me being so little, there was, all I could see was legs in front of me and behind me. But every so often, I think my father was in front of me or behind me, I'm not sure. Every so often, I would just peek out like this, just to get a glimpse of Baba, because I was in love. Finally, it was my turn. So I knelt down and I remember putting my head first on his left foot, then his right foot, and then between both feet, just holding on to his feet like that. I don't know what went through my mind, but I was just transported. I was in a different place. And then finally I stood up, and he embraced me. So that was my very first meeting with him. So 1962 was very special. And then a few years later, in 1965, we had another darshan, Easter, only for the Easterners. And I remember at that point, I was just shy of being 11, because these always took place in November. So anyway, we were there, and I remember sitting in that same small room in front of Baba, my father sitting next to me. And of course, our entire focus was on him, couldn't take in enough. And my father, bends to me and whispers in my ear, take in as much of this as you can, so that this memory will last you a lifetime. And that's exactly what I did. So now, even today, when I close my eyes, I can picture that scene in front of me, and I, have that as a treasured memory. So, Jai Baba, very blessed, very blessed.
Jai Baba, thank God for the wisdom of your father.
Yes, Yes.
I think you probably were drinking it in whether you were aware of it or not.
Or not. Yeah, that's right.
Beautiful, beautiful that your father just brought it up to the conscious level. Wow, Goher, what a story. So fine.
Thank
You're-
you.
Yes,
All
thank you.
his grace. All his grace.
All his grace. Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Dr. Goher wasn't very tall either. She was not a tall woman.
Ruthie, can you talk about her personality a little? I never met her and I've heard many stories, but I guess sometimes I come to these meetings. Sorry, I can't talk.
It's okay. Well, I don't know. Karen, do you want to share a little bit about Dr. Goher's personality? I've kind of talked a lot. You got any? You want to?
Yeah, her hands were so soft. They were healing hands and loving hands. I'm looking for something in my papers, which I hope I'll find, where Meru gave a little eulogy about her and talks about her personality, not just her shyness, but how she responded in protection of Baba. So I'm hoping to find them. And then I'd love to read what she had to say.
Take your time. It's okay.
I have something from Rick, but I mean, villagers came from far and wide for her. Pilgrims came and she cared for everybody with so much love and so much care. And she gave nurses, doctors, Baba people that came from the West the opportunity to work alongside her. Anyone that came, like even me, she was showing, what do I know? How to give injections. Like anyone that came, she just embraced. And there were people, it was Mike McDonald, Dan Ladinsky, that Ralph Jackson, and they helped her for years on end. But it's more than them helping her. She was helping them. And she gave so much to each and every person. But give me a minute or two or three, and I'm going to try
Yeah,
and
take your
find
time. It
some
looked
of
like-
these things that other people said, and I will get back to you. I'm finding things that aren't the ones that I want.
Could you repeat
Oh,
what you just
I
said?
have a
Because
great story, though. I want to tell
Go,
this story
Elizabeth.
because it tells a little bit about her personality. And this is actually in Heather's book about Mani, the 2 volumes. The joy, what was it called?
Joy of something joy.
I don't know. But anyway,
Something about
The
joy.
joyful path.
so
There.
Mani,
Say-
what is it?
The
Go ahead.
joyful path.
The Joyful Path, yes, 2 volumes. Well,
Colors.
in the 2nd volume, Mani entered a contest, like a crossword puzzle or some kind of a contest. And as she entered the contest, she thought, Mani, that's not so nice, but they'll be more impressive if I say Dr. Goher. So she enters the contest under the name of Dr. Goher. Well, she wins. And the prize was like a watch. There was some big prize, but you had to go to Bombay to get the prize. I think I'm telling this correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. And Dr. Goher was so shy. She said, no, I'm not going she didn't enter the contest. She wasn't going to get the prize. But somehow or other, they agreed to give her the prize in Pune. There was something that came up, and she did get the watch. And I believe they sold the watch and gave the money to Baba. I hope I'm telling it correctly, but it's just a sense of what her personality was like. And I love that story. Let me see if I can find these.
Yeah, to me, she personified almost a big cloud, because it wasn't just your hands that felt soft, but when you moved in and embraced her whole body felt that softness. I mean, that's what came to me. Of course, I've been thinking about it, and when I look at her on the films, I just want to embrace her because of that incredible connection of soft kindness. I don't know what else to say. And I think that the people that came to her to be treated got that same experience of her. Just, I don't know how to explain that softness, but it was so pervasive for her. And as a physician, that's not always, the case, but yeah, she gave the best hugs. How about you, Goher? Do you have anything you'd like to add about her personality to kind of fill it in a little bit for Elizabeth?
Yeah, I think when you say she was shy, she never wanted to bring any attention to her, just like Karen said. So I feel even when I asked her to share, the experience of when Baba named me and so forth, I think she was reluctant because she didn't want to make it about herself. You know what I'm saying? I think that's my perception of it. So of course it wasn't the right time. There were so many people around, and so I missed the opportunity to just get her by herself. But I think it's more that she didn't want to bring that attention to herself, and that was just her personality. Yeah, yeah. So she communicated with me a couple of times. I think when we would send donations for the dispensary or whatever, she would always write a letter, and I have so many of her notes that she wrote back to me and thanked me for. So yeah, so that's it. So blessed. Mhm.
Karen, it looks like you might have found something.
I did. Okay.
Excuse me, I put something in the chat. Karen, I didn't hear what you read because my internet froze right before you started reading. And so I came back right when you finished. And if
I'll send it to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Just send me an email and remind me, and I can send the gist of it to you.
Thanks.
Okay, so Meherazad speaks at Goher's interment. This is September 14th, 2004. And Meherazad says, over the years, I have known Goher very intimately, which is but natural when we had been in such close proximity to each other. People who had met her in the later years remember her gentleness and the softness of her hands and heart, the love and generosity with which she greeted people and treated people, especially the needy patients when the professional part of her was in play. So it was quite understandable that the close Baba lovers who served her in her last illness did it with so much heart. They responded to the love she had given them and accepted it as a privilege to be near her and serve her. Yes, she was all these things, and she never lost that part of herself that was always so giving. Yet on those rare occasions when the need arose to admonish an offender to uphold Baba's image, without any hesitation, the fierceness that was dormant in Goher came to the fore. as on one occasion when not only verbally, but with her small stature and tiny fists in a whirlwind of sound and movement, she defended her beloved. I was so sorry not to have witnessed the scene, but just hearing about it made all her close ones laugh as they visualized it. I also know that part of her that was strong and so focused on Baba and her wish to obey him and please him. Yes, Baba being Baba, to love him and desire to please him is easy to understand and to accept. But day after day, year after year, not to be your own person, but part of a group, and to live for Baba and others around you is no ordinary undertaking. All the time it needed that strength from within that helped you to be with Baba and live for him, to submerge your desire in the wish to please your beloved. And that is what I remember most of Goher. She had offered her life for Baba's service and remained his to her very last breath. Dear Goher, in your last years, though you needed the use of the walker to move around, you have won the race and reached the goal. We salute you. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. And that's from me, Ruth.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
That was great. Well, I see there's a phone call in. It might be, I don't know if it's Ralph or not, but if it is, he may be doing something else. And it could also be Marilyn, so I'm not sure. So let's just see who it is. Ask them to unmute. Because I know Ralph spent a lot of time also with Goher.
He did.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think that unless someone else has something they'd like to offer, I think it's
Thank you so much for those stories. That last one was really significant. I did get a better feel for Goher and that softness and pliability. And I guess what I'm struck with, because we just lost Bill and 2 Bills, is the absolute dedication of these people and the conviction that they had. I mean, what model of conviction and total surrender and living a life like that. Go, Karen. I don't know. We can't hear you. I'll mute.
Did you want me to say something?
I don't know. Oh, okay.
Or
I
maybe
thought I saw her talk. I saw you talking. I thought you wanted to say
Oh.
something, so I thought I better
Oh,
stop.
no. You go ahead and unmute me again, please. And Elizabeth, you continue. Yeah,
Well,
mute me back.
That's all. Just that I'm just I don't know. I guess it's just in the past few days seeing all this total surrender, total dedication, conviction, the conviction, and I know Baba said, we are where we are in whatever level. And Mara wrote to me when I first came to Baba, because I said, I don't know whether Baba's God or not. I mean, I was raised in a very Presbyterian tradition where we did go to church every Sunday and all of that. So God definitely was there. But of course, you're also told, don't have any other gods before you. So you've got that working against, any new information, like someone like Avatar Mayor Baba. And Mara was so sweet. She wrote to me, it doesn't matter what you take him to be. He said, take him as your friend. He'll be the best one you ever have. And in the discourses, it talks about Baba not caring what you take him to be, but more your sincerity of approach. That's in the discourse on faith, which I just happened to read, for Sahabas in the recordings we did of the 9 different discourses that are still there in case anyone's interested to listen to any of those. They're just selected. Anyway, Che Baba.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I think you're right on. You just hit the nail on the head. At least for me, you did. Thank you. I think it's just a wonderful gift to us to have in our lives people that can personify that kind of conviction and service and love and cheerfulness, so that we have some models that we can try to emulate. And certainly Dr. Goher is right up there.
Yeah, she lived the life.
She lived the life.
The life of God in human form. I mean, not that she's Avatar, but I'm just saying, at the end of God Speaks, it says that you basically have to live it. And she was living it. And so was Bill LePage, and so was Bill Cliff. They were all really, and I couldn't speak because I just regret that I missed so many of the Mundsley in person, and Baba, of course. So sometimes it gets to me.
Thank you, Elizabeth. All right, let's have a moment of silence together for our beloved Che Baba. Che Baba, if you'd like to unmute, we could say Ki Jai together. Avatar Meher Baba.
Yay. Avatar. Baba.
Baba.
Hey. Avatar Meher Baba. Ki Jai. Well, I think that is Ralph. Alan, you didn't have a chance to share, and I just wondered, did you want to?
We have to go.
Oh, you gotta go. Okay.
Karen has to go.
Yeah.
I'm doing important work. I'm sending jokes to Goher. I'm sending jokes to Goher as we speak.
There it is. You're taking care of business then.
All right. Jai Meher Baba.
Jai
Thank
Baba,
you all for
everyone.
coming. What a treat to have known Dr. Goher. Jai Meher Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
See you all.